Aloha, everybody. It's Joe with the O team. Welcome to our free VA home buyer webinar. We had an appointment at 9 a.m. and it's 9 a.m. So welcome everybody. I am so grateful that you guys have decided to join us today. We know that you guys have questions on the home buying process and also how to really maximize your VA benefits. And that's exactly why we're here. Now, a couple of things are going to happen when you're on the call today. You might start having some questions. Okay, and that is going to be great. Make sure you write those questions down because at the later portion of our webinar today, we are definitely going to have a question and answer portion where you can ask the O team and Smart Money Inc., our mortgage loan officers, exactly what you're looking for. Okay, so let me go ahead and share with you a very awesome slide that I'm going to be starting off with. And all right. So I know you're asking yourself, how are you going to get the most out of today's webinar? All right. I touched upon it a little bit. Write down your questions. We know that your situation may or may not be the same as everybody else's. And so we have to make sure we know how to answer your question and what your situation is. So as the webinar progresses, you might be like, ooh, that's a great thing. Ooh, I had this question. Make sure you're writing it down. Like we said, we're definitely going to have a Q&A portion at the end where we get to answer your questions directly, and that way we can help you out, okay? So to put it in plain terms, be an explorer, all right? Already you're on this call today, so already that means you have a question, you want it answered, and you want more information. That's exactly who we should be connecting with. And that's exactly why you're on the call with us today. So thank you for being here. Um, this, this photo is very, very important. So I want to highlight these three people. So please know them. This is Lourdes Salvatus, this is Norberto Salvatus, and this is Tiburcio Colon. All right, so these are my maternal grandparents, and this is Rolando, my husband, our director of operations. This is his maternal grandfather. Now, the reason we're showing you this slide is because you should probably understand that we love our family. And our big why is empowering and educating the community through real estate. And what does that have to do with these two photos? Well, just so you know, our grandparents taught us everything we know. Whether it was about running your own business or treating people like people and really listening, being authentic, and also having high standards and delivering to succeed, this is who is supporting and behind us. Now, all three of these amazing souls have gone and passed, and yet they're with us every day. Just know if we seem super helpful, if we seem like we really care, guess what? It's not too good to be true. It really is that. And Rolando and I believe that part of our legacy is to educate and empower the community through real estate and to also carry the legacy of our family. So this is just a little bit of a tidbit of how this first portion is going to be. If you were thinking it was all going to be like linear and systems and models, and we will share that, and yet just know we have a bigger purpose than closing on a deal and making money and all that other stuff that sometimes is negatively tied to what real estate is about. We're here to help, and we're family people, and you should probably know that from the get-go, okay? And in addition to these amazing people, we want to show a picture of our nephews. So Rolando and I don't have any children of ourselves yet. And we also know that part of creating a legacy is who you're creating the legacy for. And so like a lot of you guys have family or know people who have family. And this is why it gives us an extra reason to wake up at 4 in the morning and have our morning rituals and be at the office by 7:30 and have very high standards with our schedules. So we're really delivering exactly what you're looking for. I know that I myself, and also with Rolando, we have military families. I grew up in a military family. I went to 3 different high schools, moved around a lot. And I also saw the positive impact and the challenging impacts the military life had on my parents and us as children. And so if there was a way for the O Team and Smart Money Inc. to partner up and make this very, very could be possibly stressful situation of buying a home be that much easier for you, well then please allow us to do it. This is our calling, this is our passion, and it's part of allowing us to live our legacy of giving back to the community. And how do we do that? Well, I kind of touched upon it earlier. We partner with Smart Money Inc. And whether it's through our virtual open houses or webinars like this or events, what you need to know is that we authentically connect with people. If you ever compare stories with clients or future clients, you'll probably understand that there's not one cookie cutter way of how we do business, because not all of you are cookie cutter people. Right? Everybody is genuine, everybody is authentic, everybody is uniquely different. That's one of the blessings we get in this industry. And so that we know here at the O Team, we've got to listen to you, we've got to give you information, and we've got to know how to support you. And then partnering that up with Smart Money Inc., which the later half of this webinar, you're gonna hear from Dan and Will, and it's gonna be mind-blowing, because you're gonna hear things that you're gonna be like, oh my gosh. Either they solidified what you already thought, or it's something new. And those are the things you need to be listening for and looking out for, because that's what's going to get you closer to your goal of being a homeowner. So these are some of the things that we do. Look at, I love this photo of us. That's Will right there. Boom. So you heard why we're doing this, you know how we do it, and what are we actually doing? So this is a photo of Rolando and I. That is one of my favorite photos of us here. A couple of things. I am a real estate salesperson with the O Team, co-CEOs with Rolando, who's also our director of operations. So what you're seeing online and in social media, and also if you're looking to buy a home or sell your house or possibly invest on island, you and I will be in constant communication and direct interaction. Rolando is the mega mind of this whole operation. He takes care of the logistics, the information, make sure everything runs smoothly. And fun fact, he also is a licensed agent and served as an agent in San Diego along with myself. And so you're not getting somebody who is only doing the operation stuff. He's been out in the field. He knows you guys, and you guys will definitely meet him, because we treat our business like a family business, because we are a family just like you guys. And so you will definitely meet him, definitely connect with him. And that's what you should probably know on why we do what we do. We like to live a life by design. And what that really means, and we love and are very grateful for being with Keller Williams Honolulu. Keller Williams has taught us that if you are helping enough people, you can definitely reach your dreams and help them reach theirs. And as long as you're always doing the right thing, well then, hey, we have nothing to worry about. And as far as the logistics of what we do, I mean, there's 2 puzzle pieces here, right? And this big scheme of home buying and using your VA home benefits and your VA home loans. What Rolando and I do is, if you are, and we'll give you a couple of scenarios. If you're looking to buy a home, then we sit down with you. We have our home buyers consultation, which, by the way, I guarantee you before this webinar is over, you are going to naturally want to meet with us. You're going to want to book an appointment. That is okay. We welcome it. If this is in the stars for you and it makes sense, well, we definitely want to help you. And so what would happen is we'd sit down, have a buyer's consultation, and not only go over, you know, the typical 5 things that a realtor would naturally ask you, which is, you guys know them because that's what you're using to search on Zillow or Redfin or Realtor.com. How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? Right? Square footage, price, and zip code, right? Well, we go the extra mile for you. We want to know why you need a big yard. We want to know why you need a garden. Why do you need that view? What's so important about coming home and feeling safe and secure with not only your family, also for yourself? You might entertain a lot of people, and that's why you need an open concept kitchen. And you also might need a leader. You might need somebody to walk you through the process and walk you through the home, whether it's digitally, virtually, or face to face, to help you and give you ideas on how you can actually improve the home. That's what we're here for. So we go through the home buying process. We introduce you to what our team does. And then we also make sure that it's easy, simple, and understandable. And then, of course, partnered with Smart Money Inc., we are taking care of you to make sure the numbers make sense, you feel happy, safe, and secured. And then we are at the finish line of giving you your keys of living in your new home. And there's something that I'm sure that all of us are thinking about. And just so you know, it's not about just this one, and for lack of better words, this one transaction of helping you giving your keys. We are people, like I said earlier. We are carrying the legacy of our family, of giving back and teaching. And so we're definitely going to stay in communication with you. A lot of our clients have become family friends, and that's just how we naturally are, and that's how we do business. And so it's super okay. And we look forward to it, actually. So you know why we do it, you know how we do it, you know what we're doing for you. I want to show you this next photo. So bam, this is a little bit of a fun collage. So fun fact, everybody in this photo is either active duty or a veteran or has been impacted through the military life and experience. And so for the people who are interested, you can definitely look us up on our Yelp page, our Facebook page, our Google page. We could toot our own horn, and yet we are so blessed and grateful that the people we've served have done that for us. So please feel free to look out for those reviews. In the last 4 years, we've been able to help over 50 families find either something to buy, either selling their house or investing in something. And I would say about 70% of the families we helped are VA buyers. And so, like I said, it's right in alignment with who we are and how we're able to serve you. Like I said earlier, it's definitely not a cookie cutter situation. And although it is a VA home loan, your situation might be different. You might be looking for a different house. You might be looking for a different type of neighborhood. And we have been blessed to be able to help so many families to where we can add the different experiences and education that we have about not only the process, also about what's here and available for you on island so that it makes sense, you feel good, and you're ready to move forward and you're in your new home. So what do we do for you? This quick photo is actually us on the Stairway to Heaven haiku stairs. So you already know we're gonna climb mountains for you because we do it in real life. And I wanted to use this photo because climbing a mountain, that's a metaphor, right? Like we've all been there. There's a challenge before us, and sometimes we don't know everything. You may or may not have a map. It may be 3 a.m. and really dark in the morning while you're climbing up a mountain. And yet, when you do it, when you succeed, that view, those 360 views are amazing. And that climb down, back on land, back to safety, you are standing from that being grateful. And so just know we are ready to go the extra mile for you. We're ready to listen to you and really help you out. Also, with the knowledge of finding a home, I mean, you guys know if you're looking at something that's on Zillow or Realtor.com or Redfin or an MLS search or something like that, chances are a lot of buyers have already seen it, right? And so we go the extra mile by doing things out of the box. We're going to be looking at properties that have expired, or we're going to be looking at neighborhoods that don't necessarily have a home for sale, but it's the one you're looking for. And we'll reach out to those neighbors and those areas to make sure we can find you a deal. We like to go, like I said, above and beyond. Whatever it takes to get you in your new home, we definitely want to do that. And something that I know home buyers are always looking out for, we want to make sure we're saving you money, right? Everybody wants to get a great deal. And we want to do that for you. And we also know sometimes we have to make some compromises. So we want to make sure that you end up making the compromise that you can live with, right? And we can go over that whole process when we do sit down with you, have the buyer's consultation, and you hire us to be your real estate team. So when should you connect with us? Goodness, before this webinar ends, like I said earlier, you guys are going to have questions that are very relevant to purchasing a home and something to help you with your VA home benefits. Now, I want to assure you, whether you're 3 months out, 6 months out, even a year out, it's never too early to sit down with us, the O team, and go over your options, not only just for the home buying process, also for the inventory. What's the system like? What do we do differently aside from what we've mentioned today? And we can definitely dive into that. So we welcome it. If before or after this, this webinar is over, you've already looked at your schedule, you've thought about the times where you can schedule a Zoom call like this with both Smart Money Inc. and us, we welcome it. We definitely want to do that. And that's why we're here today, to do that for you, okay? So this last photo, before I turn it over to our friends at Smart Money Inc., Will and Daniel. So this is actually a cool little photo. This is our niece, and that was the first day she was born. And as you can tell right here behind, that's our family, Reggie and Anthony and our nephew, CJ. And the reason this is important is we want to make sure you know and that you remember we are hard-working people, right? So if you're thinking, is the O team right for me? Is Joan Rolando right for me? Is this the right thing to do? Well, a couple of things to know. If you have high standards and high expectations and you appreciate a level of success, we're your team. If you like interacting with people, if you like having a good time, if connecting genuinely, and reaching your goals is your thing, yes, we're definitely for you. And also, if you're a family person and you also operate on your own speed, whether it's running fast or walking slow, and you want to be able to soak in all the information, have a plan, and then take action, yes, we're definitely for you. And the last thing, if you appreciate systems and models, if you appreciate how to do things, the numbers, the logistics, well, we've got you taken care of. So I want to also close with this, and you see this quote here, and it's directly from my late grandmother, and I know I didn't share this earlier. Well, her name is Lourdes Salvatos, we call her Mama Ludi, and her quote, and everything she did was, "In everything give thanks." Okay, so if you are looking at this photo and you're not only seeing us, you're definitely seeing that my sister-in-law definitely gave birth that day. Well, you guys know sometimes a labor of love is 9 months. And then sometimes with buying a home, it's 3 months or 6 months. Whatever it is, just like in this photo, we served as a team, a family unit, and that's what we're willing to do with you. And we are grateful and blessed to be able to partner up with you on that. So thank you for listening to this portion. Once again, if you guys have additional questions, we will definitely go over that. Right now, I want to turn it over to our friends at Smart Money Inc. with Will and Daniel.
Hi, aloha, good morning, and happy Saturday. Happy Memorial Day weekend to everyone. I'd just like to introduce myself. I am Daniel Kwok, part of Smart Money's team here in Honolulu, Hawaii. And just a little bit about myself. I was born and raised here on Oahu. Born and raised here in Honolulu, basically in town. And for me personally, I enjoy this real estate industry because, you know, growing up here, I never realized how expensive cost of living is, things like that. You know, I'm just a kid growing up here, and I only realized it when I moved away for 8 years. I lived in Southern California and Las Vegas for about 8 years, and I moved back because, you know, I was going to get married and then I'm going to start a family and everything. And that's when I realized, wow, Hawaii is expensive to live. And that's when I first explored my options to try buy my first home here. And I was lucky. I met Darren back in high school. He owns this company now. Darren Ogino, he's the president of our company, and he helped me get the home loan. And he taught me everything, you know, what I know today. He was very patient with me. He helped me find the best deals because, you know, Smart Money, we work with 30 lenders, local and mainland. So we do the shopping for you, you know, so he did that. And just from that, I had such a great experience. And I was like, you know what, this is what I want to do. I want to help people get into their own first home, second home, whatever, here in Hawaii, because it's super expensive. And, you know, I thought, yeah, I needed 20% down. Nope, 5% down. And then I learned about this USDA program, and then I heard about the VA. And then that's when I was like, wow, the VA loan program is a great program that helps the military, active and retired. And that's who I really want to help. I mean, I want to help everyone, but at the same time, I do want to help the military people because you guys sacrifice everything, not only you, but your families as well. And that's what touches my heart, because now that I have a son and I'm away from him one day, you know, I'm in office 10 hours a day, and I'm like missing him. That's hard for me. And I can't even imagine what you guys go through as your families go through, you know, when you're gone for months at a time, years at a time sometimes. And that, you know, for me, if you're able to live here in Hawaii, then at least I want to try to help you get into a home so you're comfortable and it's safe here in Hawaii. So when you're out, you know, active military people, if you're out there, you know, protecting and serving our country, that your family is safe here in their home. You know, so that's for me, that's one of the biggest things. And just wanted to share that. I wanted to thank all of you for your service, your family for your service. And that's it right now. I want to introduce you William Rodriguez. We call him Will at our office. He's a VP of operations. He's also a fellow veteran as well. So when we do VA loans, he's there. He's checking, making sure we cross all the I's, crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's before we get showing to him, and he's just making sure everything's good. And at the same time, we want to try to save you money anywhere possible we can, you know, from getting you guys homeowners insurance quotes to, you know, shopping for the best rates, whatever it is, we'll find those savings for you, and then we'll just double check to make sure we did that right. And then if we miss something, then he catches that. Yeah. But here's Will. Hi, Will. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Aloha. Okay. So once again, my name is Will Rodriguez. I'm the VP of Operations at Smart Money. We're a locally owned and operated company. As Dan said, as brokers, we have access to many different lenders, which means access to better rates, better programs, more savings. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Colombia, South America. I came to the States when I was 14, lived in Connecticut and joined the Marines. Initially, I was supposed to go to the Air Force, but I was in high school. The Marine walked in with his dress blues, and who can say no to that? So I ended up in the Marines, and by pure coincidence, I ended up getting stationed here in Hawaii back in 2000, and I loved it. I lived, you know, in Kaneohe for about 3-4 years, and I loved every bit of it. I decided to stay here and make it my home. And so, again, we also wanted to thank you for spending the Saturday morning with us. We know that you guys are busy, you got things to do, but this is a great opportunity to learn about our benefits as veterans. As Dan said, you know, you guys sacrifice so much. It's only fair that we get something in return, other than the safety of our nation, that is, of course. And so we're gonna go, it's gonna be a brief overview of the VA. VA, there's a lot of info, and I don't wanna overwhelm you guys with much today, but I just wanted to touch on some points. I know there's going to be questions, and as Joe said at the end, we're going to try to filter through as many questions as possible. And then if there are specific questions to your situation, when you have the opportunity, you, Dan, myself, or any of our loan officers, we can go over it together and you know, come up with a plan. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this party started. Dan. Okay. All right. So here's what we're going to be talking about today. Go ahead, Dan. All right. So we're going to Briefly talk about what a VA, what the VA mortgage is, who qualifies for a VA loan, what are the loan limits, and you know, we're gonna briefly touch on the process and the underwriting, and then of course at the end we'll go ahead and have the Q&A. Good. Okay, so this is a small chart. This is 2019 for us. As you can see, almost 60% of our business last year was VA. Compared to, you know, the FHA, USDA, and conventional loans. So what this means is we do a lot of VA and we do it well, okay? All right, so what is a VA? It's important to understand that the VA doesn't lend you the money, okay? The VA insures your loan. So what does that mean? Most lenders want you to have what's called skin in the game. They want you to have a down payment. And the reason for that is lending is all about risk, okay? In the off chance that, you know, you have to foreclose on that home, the lender has to quickly turn around and sell it. No lender wants to keep your mortgage or your home. And so as a result, they won't be able to sell it for what they sold it to you for, right? So they want you to have some equity in that property, and that's where the down payment comes from. Now, the VA, since you can borrow 100% of the value of the property, the VA insures 25% of that. So what that means, if God forbid you end up having to get a foreclosure, the VA will essentially cover 25% of the losses to the lender. And that's why the lender feels comfortable lending you 100% because it's being backed by the US government. The insurance, that is, of course. Again, there is no down payment required. That is huge. In Hawaii, being able to walk into a property without having to drop a single dime, I think it's probably the best thing out there. And I can't put it in words how awesome it is to be able to tell a fellow veteran, hey, listen, you can get into a home and not have to, in some situations, not even pay for closing costs, because we can get the lenders to cover most, if not all of your closing costs. So if I was to tell you right now, hey, are you able to pay zero and get yourself into a mortgage, into a property, the property of your dreams, I can't say that to anybody else, okay? Now, VA loans are available ranging from 10 years to 30 years, fixed and adjustable rate mortgages. We do have some lenders that can do odd years, like 17 or 27 or, you know, 29-year loans. That's more for the people that are refinancing their properties, that they're very specific about the number of years that they want to keep the property for. But if that's your cup of tea, where you want to have like an odd number, then we can go with that as well. Now, a huge thing about the VAs and government loans, for that matter, is that they usually come with a lower interest rate compared to an interest rate on a conventional loan. The VA will always beat it. And the best part about it is that there's no monthly mortgage insurance. So that's huge, okay? Now, lastly is there's a term that I want you guys to get familiar with, okay? It's called the funding fee. The funding fee is the VA's mortgage insurance. Again, they are insuring 25% of the loan to the lender should you default on it, right? So the VA will charge what's called the funding fee. And the next slide, I think I have the chart. Dan. Okay, so again, the VA will charge a fee to insure your loan. If it's the first time you're using your loan, the funding fee would be 2.3% of the loan. For example, you get an $100,000 home, $2,300 will be put on top of it. So you will borrow $102,300, okay? If it's your subsequent use of the VA loan, let's just say they use your VA before and you're using it again, the funding fee would be 3.6%. So again, in the same scenario, $100,000 purchase price, $3,600 will be financed on top of the loan. Okay. Now, remember, the funding fee it's still a fee. So it's not like it's free, but it's going to be financed within the loan. So you don't have to come out of pocket. You're welcome to pay for it out of pocket, but most times people just finance it within the loan. Okay. Now, on a purchase transaction, you know, a lot of times I get the question, well, what if I put 20% down? You know, does anything happen? For VA loans is a little bit different. If you do 5% down payment, your funding fee goes down to 1.65. If you do 10%, it goes down to 1.4. And anything, after that is just basically up to you. If you have the money to put down because you want the payment to be lower, then you're more than welcome, but there is no additional benefits other than just having a lower payment. And then of course, there is the veterans who have disability, the funding fee is waived, and there is no minimum disability. So it could be 5%, it could be 100% disabled veteran. You will get that funding fee waived, which is huge, especially when we're looking at Hawaii real estate market. It tends to get a little bit expensive. Okay. There you go. Okay, so who is eligible for VA loans? Okay, active duty. So anybody who is in the military who has served 90 days or more automatically qualifies for a VA loan, okay? For reservists, it's a little bit different. So reservists, they go based on points. So you've got to serve at least 6 years as a reservist. A reservist is, of course, as you guys know, somebody who does the weekend, a month, and 2 weeks in the summer, or however they set it up nowadays. The one thing is that if you serve 90 consecutive days, this is important to remember, 90 consecutive days during wartime, automatically you will qualify for a VA loan, whether you've been in the reserves for six years, 1 year, however, 90 consecutive days. Now, the question always comes up, hey, I got deployed 2 months here, came home, and then got deployed another 2 months there. Again, it has to be 90 consecutive days, okay? And then, of course, you're retired and regular veterans with honorable discharge. There are certain situations where it might be other than honorable discharge or medical discharge. This is something that you definitely want to talk to your loan officer, because we got to do a little bit more digging with the VA once we get your certificate of eligibility. And then lastly, the unmarried surviving spouse of a veteran who died as a result of his or her service-connected disability. So kind of a long one. It's important to remember, I'm going to give you an example. So I have a client who, her husband served in Vietnam. He was exposed to Agent Orange, and he developed cancer. Unfortunately, he did live for a while, and of course he was claiming disability with the VA. Unfortunately, he passed away. She was able to then utilize his eligibility and essentially act like the veteran. Now, it's important that this is the unmarried spouse, because the minute that this person gets married, then they will lose that eligibility for the VA, okay? And we can go a little bit more in depth on that, on a one-on-one if you have more questions about that. Dan? Okay, so this is a huge question, and I'm super excited because 2020, I think it's the year, despite what has happened, up until now with this COVID situation. 2020 is the year for all of us. And the reason I say this is I've been doing this for 15 years. Oh, my apologies. I've been doing this for 15 years. And the limits for VA loans have been always capped to the county loan limits, what Fannie and Freddie are willing to lend up to. And it was initially 625, then it went to 680, 725, 721, 725. As of last year, the maximum loan amount that you can do was 721,050 at 100% financing. So if you bought a property that was higher than that number, you would have to come to the table with 25% of the difference. Well, as of January 1, 2020, there's this bill called the the Navy Blue Water Bill. And part of that bill was that they lifted the caps on VA loans. So you can go, our current county limit is 765, 600. So on a conventional loan, that's the highest you can borrow. On the VA loan, technically speaking, there is no maximum. If you find a property that's $1 million, you can borrow $1 million. You can borrow, a property that's $2 million, you can borrow $2 million if you're okay with that payment. So again, the VA says that they don't have a cap. However, the lender, the person that's actually giving you the money, they have what's called lender overlays. And what that means is a lot of times they don't feel comfortable going past a certain amount. And that's where you have to check with your loan officer. And that's why it's important to have access to different lenders, because just like Joe said, not everybody is not a cookie cutter, right? So everybody's situation is different. And that's why I think we're at such advantage having so much access to different lenders where if your situation doesn't work here, there's a lender that can do it. So for example, most of our lenders are capping it at around $1.5 million. I have a couple of lenders that can go up to 2 million and a little bit above the 2 million on a per case basis. So they have to look at things to make sure that it makes sense. Okay. So, all right, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, so now, so we talked about who qualified for it. Now let's talk about why the VA is, in my view, so much better than any other type of loan. And the best way that I can say is flexible underwriting. VA's underwriting makes a lot more sense than your conventional underwriting. And it all, I think, stems from the fact that the lender's already starting with that VA insurance, that 25% of that loan is going to be covered. So I feel like a lot of the underwriting guidelines are a little bit more relaxed because of that. So the first thing is 640 minimum FICO. This is something that's new, guys. Before COVID-19, you can have a 500 FICO and still be able to get a loan. And again, a lot of people go, well, why would you lend to somebody with a 500 credit score? And what I say to that is, you know, bad things happen to good people. Okay, I was in the military. I was 18 years old. I didn't know anything about credit when I first started. And of course, as a result, I ran out of credit cards, you know, forgot to pay bills on time. And so just because of that doesn't mean that I should be penalized and not be able to get a piece of paradise, right? So now because of COVID-19, a lot of the lending kind of became a little bit more strict and the funds are kind of drying up a little bit because of it. And so the lenders across the board just said, hey, look, 640 is the minimum FICO that we will accept. Well, I don't want to say pretty certain, but I'm sure that once we're past this situation, the underwriting and everything will become a little bit more flexible. But as of right now, 640 is a minimum FICO. Bankruptcies, that's another question. You know, again, bad things happen to good people. Bankruptcies are one of those things where on the conventional world, a lot of times you have to wait almost 7 years, you know, 4 to 7 years after the bankruptcy is dismissed for you to be able to get financing. On the VA loan, you just need 2 years, right? And it used to be 1 year, but things got a little bit more tighter after COVID-19. So if it does relax, you know, we'll let you guys know. And this is a conversation that you want to have with your loan officer as well. Gifting is allowed, meaning if you did want to do that 5% down payment, if you wanted to reduce that payment on your future loan, but you didn't have it, and let's just say your mom, your dad, your family is willing to give you the money, the VA allows for gifting, not a problem. On a VA loan, normally you can have the veteran and the veteran spouse as one, I guess, application. Anybody outside of that is considered a non-veteran. So what that means is, you know, let's just say you wanted to have, perhaps you don't make enough money to qualify for loan, but you wanted to have, you know, maybe your mom guys are going to be living with you, and you can do that as well. It gets a little bit more complex because the VA will require some down payment. And so for that, we can answer, that's again, a one-on-one question that we can go over with you guys. And then this is the biggest one that I think knocks everything out of the park, the higher debt ratios. So the debt to income ratio is nothing more than how much you earn versus how much you spend. On a conventional loan, for most lenders, they want you to stay at or around 45%. So if I make $1,000 a month, you know, the bank wants you to be at 450 maximum, including, you know, your mortgage, your car loans, your student loans, etc. With the VA, it's different. The VA goes off what's called the residual income, and they go off of your household size. So you're going to notice that the loan officer or the loan officer that knows VA will ask you for dependents and ages of dependents, because all that comes into play. So this little chart just shows, and again, to me, it makes a lot of sense underwriting wise. They're not going off of the debt to income ratio and 45% or 50% or whatever the number it is that they use on the conventional side. They go off of more realistic numbers. So the VA says, okay, well, after you pay your car loan, your student loan, your new mortgage, they do a calculation for your electric bill and, you know, utilities. And then after all that, as long as, for example, if you're a household of one, let's just say you're a single person, as long as you have $590 left, then theoretically speaking, you qualify for that loan. So I've seen it where the debt to income ratio is 60%, 70%, 80% in some cases. And again, the VA is okay with that. So just because of it, you qualify for a lot more loan than you would on a conventional side. Okay, part of the flexible underwriting here. Let me just move this here real quick so I can see it. Okay, so another reason why VA is an excellent choice to go with is because on conventional side, a lot of the underwriters, especially here in Hawaii, you know, we have some old homes and people add to the homes. Perhaps they turn a lanai into an addition to the living room or bedroom or whatever the case is. On a conventional side, a lot of times the lenders are going to be a little bit more stringent on that and might have issues with it. The VA is more flexible with it. They might not give a value to that, but they will allow you to lend on it. Okay. The appraisal process, this is huge. On the conventional side, we request an appraisal through a third-party company. They spin the wheel, they get an appraiser. We never know who that person is until the appraisal is back. And then we get what we get. On the VA side, again, we don't get to choose who the appraiser is, but we go directly through the VA. The minute we request the appraisal, the VA tells us who that appraiser is. We can actually pick up the phone and call them. The only thing we can't discuss is value, but we can discuss about, you know, the property, the pluses of the property or what to look for. Just makes the process a little bit easier altogether. Okay, so I feel like that's another huge thing about the VA. And of course, well, that's for underwriting. Now, I put these two little things here, the VA renovation loan. Okay, so back to the point that a lot of our homes are older here in Hawaii, but let's just say that they have a lot of potential. You know, my wife watches HGTV all the time, and so she basically wants to go out. She wants to go out and, you know, remodel and, you know, do all that stuff. The VA has a program. It's called the VA renovation loan. Not every lender has it, so we have two of our lenders actually have that program where you can buy a property and the lender will give you up to $35,000 on top of it to repair the property. That's huge because although the property might be looking a little dated and maybe not what you want, $35,000 buys you a lot. You know, nice floors, countertops, you know, a new kitchen or a new bathroom, and then you can make it your own. And again, you can play the whole HGTV, what is it, flip or flop? I forget the name of the. And of course, another huge thing about the VA, I say huge because everything is huge about the VA, is all VA loans are assumable. So what that means is that, you know, when I get older, let's just say I have this VA loan and I want to sell it to my kids, they can actually take over my loan and my interest rate, which is huge. Pretend for a hot second you go out and you buy the property of your dreams. Right now, the rates are in the low 3s or high 2%. And 10 years from now, you want to sell it to your sister, your brother, your cousin, your uncle. But let's just say the interest rates are at 10%. You actually they can assume your loan at the same interest rate. That is huge. That's a huge selling point as well. So yes. Okay, let's go for the next one. Okay, so, you know, again, we talked about who qualifies. We talked about a little bit of the flexible underwriting. So the question is, you know, what's next, right? So get pre-approved by a loan officer and of course, by a loan officer that is familiar with the VA. And this is important. So I'm going to share my story when I first bought a property back in 2004, 2005. I had this lush hair back then. The realtor, you know, you don't know what you don't know until you do. And so much like you guys, you know, we trust a realtor that they have good connections. This particular realtor sent me to this one loan officer. I was not in the industry at that point in time. And then they, you know, the first question I asked was, hey, should I use the VA loan? And the loan officer said, no, because it's one and done. You use it and you lose it type of thing. And I didn't know. It sounded like he knew what he was talking about. And at the time I was like, fantastic, no problem. Let's go with your option. This is during the time where you could still do financing, you know, first and second up to 100%. So at that time, when everybody else was getting 6% or 5.5%, which were great interest rates at the time, I ended up with a 7.75% on a first mortgage and a 13% on a second mortgage. This nearly killed me, you know, and looking back. And the only reason why I ended up in that situation, and I got to the point where I was almost unable to make the mortgage payment, we're talking, you know, 7 and 13% interest rates, is because the VA loan requires a little bit more paperwork on the loan officer side. So if you're a loan officer and you're given the choice between going VA and non-VA, oftentimes the loan officer will go, well, let's go with the easy route because the VA might require a little bit more steps. Because of that loan officer's inability to see what the best loan was for me, I ended up getting a really crummy loan. And so as a result, you know, and I was thinking of the why I do this. This is why, because I don't want people to go through the same thing that I went through and end up in a loan that they can't afford and end up paying out of pocket when they shouldn't be paying out of pocket. So again, you guys are sacrificing so much. It's only fair that we do our part, right? So again, when you get them pre-approved by a loan officer, you know, make sure that they're familiar with the program. Make sure that you're asking a lot of questions. The process begins and ends with you, whether it be it on the real estate side or on the mortgage side. Again, you're the driver, so we are here to help you. Okay. Important, obtain your certificate of eligibility. So the loan officer that is working with you may or may not have access to the VA portal. They should have access to the VA portal. And you're gonna be asked for the DD-214 if you're regular military, or NGB-22 if you're reserves, or a statement of service if you're in the reserves. So, you know, these are things that they're going to be asking for. There's a lot more documents that we're going to be asking for, income, assets, and so forth. But that is the first document that you want to make sure that you look for, because that's going to be needed to get your certificate of eligibility. And of course, once you talk to the loan officer, and here's an important thing, you know, be sure to disclose everything. It's not that we're trying to get into your business. It's not that we're trying to get into your business. I mean, we kind of are, but it's just the more we know about your situation, the better off or the better equipped we're going to be to provide you with the best loan that we can get. So, you know, bankruptcies, we're going to find out about the bankruptcy. So again, you disclose that, you know, child support, things like that, because if these things are not talked about at the beginning of the transaction, they will come back at the end and possibly derail the purchase. And it has happened more often than not. So that's why I'm bringing it up. Once you get pre-approved, once you go through the whole process, get a realistic budget. You know, just because you qualify for a $2 million loan doesn't necessarily mean that you want that, you know, $8,000 or $9,000 payment. So you know your budget better than us. So we are, again, here to serve you. You're in the driver's seat. So you let us know what's comfortable. Joe mentioned earlier, you know, just we want to make sure that you can afford the house, right? You know, we don't want to put you in a precarious situation where you can't make your mortgage payments like I did back when I first started, you know, when I got my first mortgage. So again, be mindful of that. And then, of course, the most important part is work with a team that cares. And I've had the opportunity to spend a whole Saturday with Joe. He's such an energetic person. And I feel like, you know, there's a lot of us out there. There is nothing but loan officers and real estate agents. And again, you have many choices. But I feel like working with a team that truly cares is huge, is important. And I can't say enough about Joe's ability to like bring laughter and to really be genuine about what they do. You know, he truly, and I'm not tooting your horn for this, but you know, you guys truly master your craft. You know, we spent a Saturday morning at a TED Talk with Joe, and to see him in action, talking to the clients, be so passionate about it. You know, the books that they recommend to read and all this other things, I feel like you don't get that everywhere. You know, that passion. Yes, anybody can sell a home, but not everybody cares enough to say, no, that might not be a good option, or that might not be, you know, where you want to go. You know, on our side, we tell you the truth, not what you want to hear, you know, and a lot of times that's tough to hear, but I want you to be 100% comfortable with the process. I want you to feel like you understand the process from the beginning, because until you do, then you're going to feel like you're being taken, advantage of, or maybe put in a situation that you don't want to be in. So let's see, what's that? And of course, once you consult with the O team, here's another thing too, because I get this question all the time. We on the loan officer side are in charge of the mortgage part of it. Anything that has to do with negotiating the price, anything that has to do with the properties, how many bathrooms, how many bedrooms, and all that other stuff, that is where the O team really shines. And I get the question all the time, well, my uncle is a realtor, and they work a full-time job, but then they're a realtor on the weekends, and that's great and everything, but you want to be doing this 24/7. You want to breathe, eat, and and sleep real estate, and so that's how you know that these guys are really in for the long haul. Okay, I think that's the last slide. Dan, let's go to the next one. Oh, questions. Okay, so I know that this probably created more questions than that, but this is just a conversation starter, just to kind of spark up that questions. And for those of you that I've had it so many times where people feel like they are well, I have to save up all this money to buy a property. On our side, and I can tell you, we do it all the time, where we can get the lender to cover most, if not all, of the closing costs for you. So most times you end up getting your escrow money back at the end of the transaction. So that's huge. That's something that can be saved for, a conventional loan, where you have to put a down payment. So other than that, how's my time? I hope did I go over?
No, you definitely didn't. Thank you so much, Will. Before we get into the Q&A portion, one, super humble, didn't know you were going to say all that. And I'm grateful that we're in business together. And if you guys at home or on your phones can see, this is why we partner with Will and Daniel and their entire Smart Money family, because it's exactly that. We're a family. And so going off of what Will was saying, which is being able to build trust so you know exactly what's happening. Well, here's the thing about family, and I'm sure you guys could agree. We're going to treat you like family, which means we're going to care about you. We're going to go up to bat for you. We're going to negotiate for you. We're going to go above and beyond, because that's what we would do for our cousins, aunties, uncles, moms, right? And there's a high level of accountability with being your family member, which means we're going to make sure we're staying within budget. We're staying within exactly what you're looking for. And once again, to dovetail off of what Will was saying, really making sure the plan that's for you is the right plan for you. And now everybody knows confidence comes from competence. And so we want you to be confident when you partner with us. And so hopefully today we've given you information that's made you a little bit more confident with not only what your next steps are, but more importantly, what powerful questions you're about to ask. And so we're going to go ahead and open up the Q&A portion of the last 8 minutes of our call, because we want to be respectful of your time. And so I'm going to go ahead and place us on gallery view, which means you can see all of the panelists, including my husband, our director of operations and co-owner of the O team, Rolando. So if we can unmute everybody, and we can go ahead and place you on a gallery view. Oh, hey, the whole family's here. Okay. So for people at home, if you guys have questions, there is a Q&A button.
Yep,
right?
It's on the bottom of the screen, and we have one question from an anonymous attendee. It's, what would be the next step in working with you?
Anonymous attendee, are you referring to the O team or Smart Money Inc? That's so cool, anonymous attendee.
Either or.
Either or.
Mhm.
Okay, who'd like to go first? What's the next step? So I'll jump in if that's okay. A lot of our clients appreciate understanding what the first step is. Okay, so not a lot of realtors are going to tell you this. My answer is having the dream and the vision that you desire to own a home is the very first step. The next step is actually meeting with Smart Money Inc. meeting with Daniel, meeting with Will, and making sure it makes sense. Because the last thing I want to do is hop on this really cool train ride with you and we're like, let's look at $5 million homes. And we didn't even structure it based on your lifestyle and your goals. And I don't want you falling in love with a home that isn't the one for you at that moment. So it would honestly be the first step would be to connect with Smart Money Inc. And the cool thing is simultaneously, if you're meeting with them for 30 minutes or an hour, later on that same day, we can definitely meet. And with COVID-19 happening, of course, we're doing all of this virtually. So you get a one-on-one situation with us. So that would be the next step.
So can I jump in? Oh,
yes.
Am I unmuted? Okay. And I'll let Dan kind of attack this one too. But meeting with Smart Money, meeting with Dan, I don't want you to feel like just because we met, you're stuck with us. You know, we want to give you the information. We want to prepare you for what's next. So one of the biggest questions that we get is, hey, look, I don't want to pull my credit because my credit is, going to go down, and that's a huge misconception. Okay. So just like Joe said, it's important that the financing part of it comes in first. So that way, your range, you're not going to just show up and go for whatever. You want to have an idea as to what my range is and whether or not I can afford it. And like Joe said, is this going to align with my dreams and my goals, right? So meeting with a loan officer shouldn't be like like a dreadful thing. It's actually a cool thing. You get to talk about, same thing, your needs, wants, and aspirations. We can make it as quick as it needed to be. You don't have to be in the same room. We can do it over the phone. Dan can kind of maybe expand a little bit on what's usually required on the first meeting. Dan?
Yeah. So for my first meet, I usually just try to talk to you, figure out what your goals and everything is. I would also like to talk about us and our company and what we do and how we can provide the help for you as well. And to be honest with you, most of my VA clients, we do everything over the phone. A lot of active military are still in the mainland or overseas, and they're going to move over. So we do everything over the internet. We talk over the phone. I get started with the conversation first. Then once we're done with that, we kind of just go straight to the loan application. The reason why I go over the application with you over the phone is because it only takes about 10 to 20 minutes per person, per person, because if it's you and your spouse, I'm going to need that extra time for that person. But if it's just a one person, it's only going to take 10 to 20 minutes. Versus me sending you the loan application, it's 5 pages long. It could take you 45 minutes, an hour, and we don't need all the information on that loan application. And so that's why I do it over phone. It saves you a lot of time. And also, I also learn a lot about you. And every question I ask you, the question before relates to the next question. So that's why we do it that way. And then after that, I basically just send you an email. I'll go over what documents we need from you. And then I'll send you the email with a secure link. You send it over to me. I verify the information. We run the pre-approval through with Will and Fannie and Freddie Mac, our system. And then we figure out what you pre-approved for the maximum value. And then that's when I come back. I let you know, okay, you're pre-approved for this much, but because you're comfortable with only this much amount of monthly mortgage, then this is for. And then from there, I hand it over to Joel and the old team, and then that's when they take you on your shopping. And then it's pretty much once you guys go through that process, you find a home, we send a pre-approval letter, Joe sets up the offer package, and then you go into escrow, and then we rock and roll from there.
Awesome.
Great. Awesome. So we have another question from Chris. Is the O team only licensed in Hawaii? Same question for Smart Money.
Cool. You guys go.
For Smart Money, I guess fortunately and unfortunately, we're only licensed in Hawaii at this point.
Oh no, we didn't hear that. Will.
Oh, shit. Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so unfortunately, Hawaii, we're only licensed in Hawaii at this point in time, so we can only do loans in Hawaii.
And as far as the O team, we are licensed in Hawaii and also in California. And the beautiful thing about being with Keller Williams, we're the #1 brokerage in the world. So I have definitely referred some of my friends and family, and them being also VA buyers, to other agents who have the same level of standards and care that Rolando and I have, and have referred them, and you'll be definitely taken care of no matter where you're purchasing, any country as well.
Oh, nice.
Wow. Okay. Well, we have about 1 minute left. If there's no other questions in the Q&A, just know if you spent time and hung out with us, we're definitely grateful for you. And if you guys have questions, you will definitely get, oh, we got a question.
All right. From another anonymous, can I get sent a copy of this webinar, please? And absolutely, I'll go ahead and answer that. When this is done, we'll go ahead and send the recording to all the attendants today.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome. And then the last thing I want to say while we go is with COVID-19 being a serious thing, and I know in Hawaii we're slowly rolling things out. If this is a concern for you, just know our real estate industry has set in some new standards. So for some of our VA buyers, if you guys were PCSing here, you've already been looking at properties before you get here. So before COVID-19 even happened, the military was way ahead of it. And some people want to land on Oahu and take their luggage into their new home. And if that's your decision, we can definitely help you do that. For other people who are here on island, they've got some new things, and I'll just sprinkle some quick knowledge bites here. They've got some new things to where there's only about 3 people that's allowed to be in the home. So usually sellers step out. We've got to be wearing gloves and masks, hand sanitizers, things like that. And we can definitely go over that with you. Just know we are taking the correct precautionary measures to keep you and your family safe. Oh, contact information for Smart Money.
You guys can provide that with Dan. Dan is the man. Dan the man.
Yes, real quick, same with Joe and Rolando. I'll be your main point of contact. Will is behind the scenes. He's a VP of operations. He's doing he's the brains of the operations for us, basically. And, go out, you know, the talking and everything. So yeah, if you need anything, just reach out to Joe, the O team, and myself, and then you know, we'll make it happen, work for you.
Yep.
Awesome. And I'll make sure to send out the contact information for all of us with the recording of this video.
Cool. Awesome, you guys. Well, thank you for hanging out today. Thank you to Will and Daniel and Rolando. Did we already double check? Did we do a screenshot really fast? Can we do a group photo?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Okay, thanks for joining, everybody. Enjoy your Saturday. Be safe, and happy Memorial Weekend. Take care.
Aloha.
Take care, guys. Aloha.
Aloha.
Thank you, service.